Hello. Hello, hello. It's been a minute. Let me take this hat off so you can see my face. I look rough. How's everybody doing? Thanks for patience over the last couple of weeks. I've been traveling a little bit. And so it's just been hard to find a consistent time to do it, but we're back with the Sunday Supports. And I'm going to do it at this time, every Sunday. So, every Sunday. How is everyone doing? You'll have to bear with me. I am doing what I love to do second most after talk to you all on Sunday morning, and that's eat Chipotle. How has everyone been? I'm so glad to have you. I didn't look in the mirror at all before I did this. Oh well. We are deep into August. We are, ramping toward an election in the U.S. for those U.S. folks who tune in here. The state of California, and not just California, is on fire. 2020, right? Oof. A lot of other stuff going on. How's everyone coping with everything? It's a year, that's for sure, We can get through this one. We can get through anything, I think. Oh, good. Watson, what tools have been helping you sort of get through this time? Yeah, taking day by day, sometimes minute by minute. I hear that. Mindfulness. Do you have any favorite exercises for mindfulness? Oh, I love that, Jared. A lot of internal screaming and aggressively telling my friends how much I love them. I love it. Okay. VR4. Is that Brittany girl? All right. Let's crowdsource some strategies for lovingly approaching friends who we feel might be struggling. Hello. So I don't know. I can speak from experience on like what was helpful for me when I had friends that spoke to me when I was really struggling. It was helpful to have the focus be on my feelings and my sort of like energy and emotional life rather than on my physical shape or the amount I was or wasn't eating. So leading perhaps with yay, welcome. Leading perhaps with I notice you seem sad, or I notice that you seem to be hurting, or I'm noticing some new behaviors and I'm wondering how you're doing and how you're feeling. And starting with feelings first rather than sort of pointing a finger right at the behavior. We've got some great other suggestions. Sorry, I'm being rude here. It was helpful when people, Aaron says, said they were there for me and allowed me to open as much as I was comfortable instead of asking direct questions. Yeah, Dustin, I think you're not alone with the anxiety and things being so challenging. A little bit more about reaching out to friends. I think allowing the process to be gentle and unless there's concern that like they're in an immediate, extreme, immediate danger. I think knowing that you're not going to fix it in one conversation and that person is still that person, even if they are experiencing an eating disorder at the moment. Oh yeah, sharing a little bit about your own experiences. Um, and maybe offering, a couple of pieces of tangible support, like we can crowdsource this as well, but something like, hey, you know, we can have a code word for if you're feeling particularly blue or anxious or whatever. You send me a poop emoji or something and I'll give you a call. Trying to be there for the person and not trying to necessarily fix the behaviors. I also had a couple of friends, one friend in particular, like offer to go to therapy with me, which I know we can't really do that in person right now, but maybe there's a way to do a sort of group Zoom just to have some like emotional support. Um, we also have linked on one of our HLG community channels a bunch of free online support groups. Oh, that's a great idea, Jared. Like after therapy, if you want to offer to be there to sort of like decompress from the therapy session, or even not even talk about the therapy session, just like sit on the phone together and like watch Netflix or something, just to sort of offer a little bit of community and support. So, I say a lot of times, like, some of the best things my friends did for me when I was really struggling was continue to treat me like myself, and to continue to eat the way they ate and go about their lives the way they went about them, and just reminded me that I had value and that I wasn't my eating disorder. I found that to be really helpful. Yeah, reminding people that you care about them. It's such a powerful gesture. It really is. It's such a simple thing, but it's a really powerful thing. Yeah. You could also offer to do a thing like if you guys wanted to like have a virtual lunch date once a week or something. If the conversation gets to a point where support around meal times could be useful. But good luck, Brittany. It sounds like your friend has a good friend in you. And I think it's really beautiful that you are noticing that they're in pain and that they could probably use some support. It can be really hard to talk about it when you're in it, you know. I remember oftentimes feeling really embarrassed or ashamed that I was struggling with something that I felt like I shouldn't be struggling with, even though there is no shame in struggling. It's part of being a human being. But it was hard for me to talk about it because I was really embarrassed. Oop. Moira, that sounds really hard. But yeah, allowing the conversations to be gentle. Okay, I'm going to back up on these. Ella, it sounds like you're really in it right now. Has anyone else experienced kind of a bit of... What is that noise? I feel like I'm hearing a knocking. Sorry. Wow. I'm upstairs and I'm like, what do I hear? Anyway, my dog can't knock. Has anyone experienced sort of a mental and emotional setback, and like maybe a motivational setback that comes with moving forward in recovery? I know that feels really real to me. Oh, yay, Jamie. it's like, this is so silly, but I actually don't think it is silly, and I think a lot of you will relate. I have a hunch. It almost felt like I was like cheating on my eating disorder with trying to be healthy, or I was failing in some way. And you know, I think the way I got through those moments was to say, you know, I'm having the thought that I don't want to recover. I'm having the thought that this is the wrong path for me, and continuing to practice the physical steps of recovery, which is, if you're on a meal plan, to follow that meal plan, to do your support check-ins with your therapist or nutritionist, or whatever your team looks like. Yeah, Robin. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's, you know, the eating disorder just like gets in that brain of ours and rewires our thoughts in all these really harmful ways, and it takes a long time to untangle those pathways and to kind of air them out. And you know, I don't know, sometimes, I don't know if this is true for any of you, but sometimes being in sickness gets attention that we feel like we can't get in other ways. I know there was some of that happening for me when I could have just probably used my voice to ask for it, but that seems scary, or that seems hard. But just sort of allowing yourself to sit with the discomfort and knowing that you can feel and think one set of things, but you but you have the power to both have those thoughts and those feelings in your head, and know that those aren't you, and that you're not bound to them, and that you still can continue to practice recovery even when intrusive thoughts set in. I saw a question here about advice dealing with parents. You know, I'll be honest, I got really lucky in this regard, because my mom was incredibly, hi Dewey, incredibly supportive, and she did a lot of self-educating to understand what I was going through, and understand sort of how to be there. I think tools to, you can come up here. You want to come up here? You can't eat my food though. Tools to take care of, you know, even though what your parents are doing sounds kind of invasive and difficult, it more likely than not comes from a place of wanting to help. And it's hard because it sounds like it's really, really not helpful. But perhaps providing them with some literature, some sort of like homework that they can do, that they can put that energy into, so that they feel like they're, and they will be like they're doing something tangible to help you, by educating. I also find that sometimes because it can be so scary and so hard to figure out how to help someone who's in pain. If you're perhaps, and I don't know if this will work, this is just something I tried when I was in early recovery, which is offering very specific ways that my parents could help, like oh shoot, low power mode, why is that doing that? Like specifically when I would come home from like college, I would ask my mom to sort of like go over what foods we had around, and kind of maybe talk through a couple of meals. And that was something I could ask her for, that she could then give me. So I was leading the type of support she was providing. And for me, that felt more empowered, and it also felt more useful because I kind of knew what would be helpful for me. I don't know if anyone else has advice for dealing with parents who have some misplaced, perhaps, energy. You don't talk about it. Yeah. That's often, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to see a post about. Yeah. Lishi, I wonder if it might be time to start curating what you see on social media and sort of doing an unfollow when those types of posts come up. I do that. I have to do it. Especially for me right now, it's less about food and body and more about like political stuff. And I just have to, I don't like block or defriend usually, but I'll unfollow or I'll like mute. Because what we see when we scroll has a really big impact on our psyche and our mental health. And yeah, to be taking that in all the time, it's got to be very challenging. Let's see. Yeah. 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 Lots of challenges. The internet can be a great place and can also be a very dangerous place. Some family therapy. Get rid of as many triggers as possible. Yeah, that's a great idea. For my parents, I found it was helpful to take family therapy so someone else was telling them and validating me to them. Oh yeah, that's a great idea if that's an accessible option for you. I found that a lot of the anxiety that I was getting from my parents was just they wanted me to be safe and they wanted me to be okay. And sometimes when we have those big feelings and we don't know where to put it, it kind of escalates and gets a little challenging. Finley, well, congratulations first and foremost about starting IOP. You're worried that it's not a high enough level of care. Yeah. Well, first of all, huge props to you for being there and for enduring the anxiety and the complex emotions that come with being in treatment. It can be really tough. I wonder if you can sort of give yourself a little permission to not know if it's the right level of care right now, and to just sort of say, I'm going to do this right now, and I'm going to give it a little bit of time. And if I need more help, I will ask for it. And just maybe allow the next week or so to be kind of an experiment and an exploration and sort of a chance to be curious about yourself and what you respond to in treatment and what sort of triggers you. And just, I would really encourage you to be as honest as you can with your team, because they can also help you. I know not every care provider is perfect, but I'm hoping that you're in a place that's a great place to be, and that your treatment team will be able to assess if you need a little more support. And if you do need a little more support, great. Yeah. Ryan, you just said it way more concisely than I did. Thank you. Still waking up. My brain is like half speed. Oh, we have a question. I'm new here. Can someone fill me in? Yes. So I've been doing this for a while. I had to take a couple weeks off, but I'm back doing Sunday supports. It's just kind of an open forum chat about how we're doing, with a focus on eating disorder recovery. And I answer questions, but also all the participants are able to chat with each other, and oftentimes the best pieces of advice and connection don't come out of my mouth, they come out of yours. So welcome. Here to be community. And today here to eat Chipotle, because I'm eating Chipotle in bed. I mean, it's Sunday, right? Why not? Oh, Tracy, oof, I feel you. I feel your pain and chaos. It's really a tough place to be. Very exciting that you are on the wait list. That's great. I don't know if this is part of what you're experiencing, but I noticed a huge uptick in my behaviors when I knew treatment was coming. I was scared. I didn't want to let go. I wanted a last hurrah. So I don't know if that's part of maybe what you're experiencing. Also, the pandemic can't help. Gosh, okay. I want to think of some solid practical advice. Okay. Just on a really practical level, try to see if you can get a lot of sleep. Try to drink more water. I know this sounds very basic, but sometimes doing things to sort of calm your physiology can be really helpful. I want to look at your question again just so yeah. So drinking makes it a lot harder, or I shouldn't say that as a statement. Drinking made it a lot harder for me when I was in my eating disorder. It really exacerbated the symptoms. So it might be tough to say, I'm not going to do any of these behaviors right now, but maybe trying to see if there's a way for you to decrease the amount of alcohol consumption and make that the goal, and just sort of be in process with yourself about the other symptoms. Or maybe I would also encourage you, while you're waiting, there are free online support groups every day of the week. You can access them. We posted them on our community page on the HLG YouTube channel. So I highly encourage you to, to participate in those. And particularly if there's a certain time of day when you feel the craving to drink, maybe that's the time of day you can look at a meeting, and so you could even push it back an hour. Or if, there's a time of day that you feel really bingy, that you could find a type, group at that time. I think one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with in my recovery was that I couldn't recover if I was still trying to lose weight. And that was a really hard pill to swallow for me. So I'm wondering if some of the restricting behaviors is tied to the feeling of needing to be smaller and needing to control. And if if you can try to nourish yourself consistently, I think that could be a lot of help too. Let's see. I just got a bunch of messages at once. Let's see here. Okay, I've missed a lot of messages. I apologize. GC is asking how to tell your treatment team that you've been relapsing. Oh man, it can be hard. That can be really hard. I almost wonder if it could be easier to write a letter before your next session and hand it to them, or send them an email and say, hey, I'm embarrassed to say this in person, but I want to hold myself accountable, so here's what's going on. I get the impulse to hide it, I really do. But that's what they're there for, and there's no shame in relapsing. It's a part, I think, of most people's recovery. I know it's so cliche to say, but recovery is not a straight line. It ebbs and flows, and there are things you can learn from this moment. And And yeah, you're not the first, Ella says. You're not the first. Yeah, yeah. But it is important, to be honest. You have an opportunity having a treatment team. Yeah, it's a learning process, so you're going to gain skills from this. It could actually end up being a really pivotal part of your healing journey. It could end up, there's a way to turn it to a positive. So I send you strength and courage. Yeah, GC. Yeah, the thing is they're there for you. They're there for you, and their job is to help you. And lying or hiding the truth, bending the truth is a part of the illness, and that's part of what they're trained to sort of navigate. It doesn't mean you're a liar. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. I mean, I relate. I've done it. And I think maybe even just voicing that concern, I'm afraid you're going to think I'm a liar, I think that would be a really courageous and vulnerable act to just admit that you have fear around that. Yeah. 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 And ultimately it's about you. It's about your future. It's about your life. Yeah. Courage is empowering. Yeah, that's great. Robin, that's really hard. I hate when people comment on my physical body appearance. It's so triggering. And it usually says more about their own relationship to their body than it does about what your body actually looks like. I, you know, you could try to challenge yourself to take a break from running for a little bit if you feel like it's sort of getting to you, to maybe replace it with a different kind of movement or to vary the type of movement. It can be hard with exercise to honestly examine whether or not it's for the purpose of changing your body or for the purpose of embracing your body and celebrating your body. And if you're not sure, maybe do an experiment and don't do it that day and see how that feels and see what comes up, and it might teach you something about where you're at. Let's see. I'm sorry, my brain is moving slow today. Oh, I'm so glad, Lauren. Am I saying that right? I'm so glad you had such a positive experience in treatment. Lauren, would you have any advice for any of the folks who are in treatment now, or one of our friends on here who is on a waiting list? Like, what do you think? What were some things that you did that you felt contributed to that being a positive experience for you? Ella, that's tricky. I feel like your question is a little out of my depths, and I don't want to mislead you, but I would hope that if you have a therapist, that they would be able to hold that information and help you work through it. It sounds like you're feeling uncomfortable with your relationship with both of those things, and you deserve to get support regardless of what your age is. I imagine too that there are some online support groups that you could look up. I know there are definitely ones for alcohol. I'm not sure if there are ones for specifically teenagers, but I bet there are actually. If I know you're afraid of getting in trouble, and I guess I don't know the legality in terms of what you disclose to a therapist, but I think I would encourage you to. I would encourage you to be honest and share what your experience is and what's causing you pain. Um, did I even answer that question? I feel like I just kind of talked around it. But I think, in short, I don't know that I feel qualified to answer it, but I want support for you. Oh, that's great. Oh, thanks, Rebecca. That's fabulous. Yeah, finding a place for people in your age group, I think, would be really great because, you know, life stages and similar things that you're dealing with. Okay. Thank you, Lishy, for that clarification. I appreciate it. That's great. Lauren says one of the biggest things for her, or I'm sorry, them, I'm not sure what your gender, was to tell their team the truth, no matter how ashamed they felt. Yeah, that's some radical self-love and empowerment to bet on yourself and bet on your life that strongly to be so truthful. That's so cool. So much admiration for that. Hell yeah. Another thing that helped them was realizing they could ask for things or more care and treatment. You are being provided a service and you have the right to say when you need something different. Yes. Yes, Lauren. Yes. That's really great advice. That's really, really great advice. And it's not being mean or critical to say, I need something else. This isn't working for me, or, you know, I think that's great. I think that's fabulous. Man, congratulations. That's so awesome. Yeah. Okay, fabulous. Thoughts on making mistakes in, yes, in a spiral. Dustin, yeah. Yeah, relationships that we may have damaged because we were acting in pain. I struggle with this too, you know. I know there are some people that I've hurt in my time when I was really in my eating disorder. I think, you know, I think it's probably relationship based and it depends on the person. And you know, you can always, I guess, ask and say, "Hey, I'd like to sort of express express an apology for some past behavior, and I was wondering if you might be willing to hear me out. If not, that's totally fine. But if so, I would love the opportunity to apologize and, you know, perhaps start fresh in this relationship, or maybe leading with, you know, even though I may not have always showed it in the past, I really value you as a person, and I care about you and you matter to me. I know I've acted in ways that have said otherwise, but I was wondering if you might hear me out, because I'd like to apologize. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I think probably. Does anyone have any other thoughts? I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on this. You know, and I guess like being prepared for someone to not be able to hold the apology. I think sometimes owning our shitty behavior and be like, I behaved this way and it was wrong and I'm sorry. Here's the things that I have done and am doing to be a healthier person in the world. And I would love the opportunity to have you in my life again. But I understand if you're not there. Maybe. Big bite. Ooh, spicy. Linen. Gosh, yeah. It's really hard when people feel they need to talk about our shape, isn't it? It's really frustrating, and I understand why, if you're being reinforced for having a specific kind of shape, you would feel fear that that love and admiration would go away if you were no longer that shape. We're such a fat phobic society, and we treat folks in larger bodies really terribly. And so it makes sense to me that that fear would exist. I guess I would say that at the end of the day, Alina, got it. Thanks. It's a pretty name. I would say that your life is for you to live and to experience, and your body is yours, and it's not theirs to pass judgment on, to value at one size and not value at another size. And if they respond like that, then they suck. And they might suck. Some people suck. And that you taking care of yourself and living healthy and in recovery is an act of rebellion and a really brave act. And they can go fuck themselves. I know that's easier said than done. I know. I think I know the feeling you're talking about, and it's powerful. Thanks for sharing that, Lauren. Oh, interesting, Robin. The beauty myth. Yeah, it's really hard to, when you're valued for something that isn't intrinsic to you, like your shape. That's hard. It's a really shitty position to be put in by people. But I guess you can consider yourself a warrior in the fight against fat phobic, white supremacist, homophobic, a lot of the other things we are culture. Amina. I don't know the youngsters' slang, but I understand why you would be really uncomfortable. Your sister does not like these comments. Okay, yeah. I think, could you lead her through how to block and report those people? And also perhaps maybe she could move her settings to private. That's really not cool for people to comment on it. It's not cool for people to comment on anyone's body, but for a 10-year-old, I mean... Oh, Laren. Laren? That's cool. I'm really sorry your sister's having that experience. It sounds like it's like cyberbullying, and that is, that makes me very angry. Do you know the people who are commenting? Oh, why did I think you were talking about social media, Amina? You're talking about in person. Gosh, in person? Man, that makes me mad. Yeah, is there a way if you feel bold enough to pull those people aside and be like, don't comment on my 10-year-old sister's body. What are you doing? I mean, you probably don't want to, I mean, you can do it however you want to. Or you could just say it in front and be like, let's not let's not talk about our shape. Like there's a lot more things that are more interesting about my sister than her shape. Man, that makes me really mad. You could also try creating, like, if it's happening in the home, creating a boundary. Like, this is a zone where we don't talk about shape, especially not the shape of a 10-year-old. Oh, that makes me mad. That makes me mad. It makes me really sad. I'm really sorry your sister's having that experience. Oh, Ella, that's gonna make me cry. That's really sweet. Yeah. Ugh. Gosh, and they're not listening, are they? Oh, man. I don't know how we get people to listen. Is there a way to communicate how painful it is for gosh, you know, some people won't, you know what I mean? It really sucks to set a boundary and have someone not be able to hold it and to respect it. And it sounds like that's happening. And I think yeah. Ugh, and they're just not, and I suppose it's okay. If it's family, it's harder to be like, you're not in my life anymore. Man. I liked what I think it was Ella said about, you know, communicating to your, I was just going to say that, Ella. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, man. Yeah, finding other ways to boost your sister up, to show her that her value and it doesn't come from what she looks like or what shape her body is in, especially at freaking 10. Oh, that makes me very sad. I would love other people's thoughts. It's hard when people just refuse to listen to you and just refuse to acknowledge that something is doing harm. It's actively harmful. I'm really sorry. That's wrong. That's wrong that that's happening. It sucks. It really sucks. Oh, make my blood boil. Man, it sounds like she has a really good older sister in you, though, Amina. I mean, you know, for all those negative voices in her life, for her to have you around, I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah, I think that's really true, Moira, that a lot of times shape comments come from people who are struggling with their own body issues and are having trouble with themselves, but it still doesn't mean that it doesn't completely suck to hear. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna send a lot of well wishes for your sister this week. I have to wrap up. Oh, let's see here. I'll take this last question from Karen, I think is how I pronounce your name. What advice would you give to someone who's also trying to interpret their ED experiences into a story for media? My biggest piece of advice would be to make sure that you are really solid in your recovery when you start the process. Moira, thank Moira Rose of Schitt's Creek. That's how I know how to pronounce it. So interpreting your experience into story, yeah, I would say it's really important to be really solid in your recovery. I couldn't have done it in early recovery because it was too close. It was too vulnerable. I was still reshaping my neuro pathways, and I was still like figuring out my triggers and what worked for me. I would say make sure that your team, if you're collaborating with anyone, make sure that they're people who you all have a lot of mutual respect and care, and that they're going to put the person's experience before the product. I'm really blessed with collaborators like Yuri and Dash and Justin and Donnie, that they care about me more than they care about, the show. So if I was ever having, a tough moment or something like that, they would make sure to take care of me. When I think, they would check in, hey, is this okay? So it was nice to feel supported. I would also say, like, whenever you put a story out there, there are going to be people who don't receive it well and who can't understand it and who will sometimes comment with mean things, and finding ways to sort of let it roll off your back. We can craft stories and craft them, but when we put them out in the world, other people get to interpret them, and that's hard sometimes. So just sort of preparing for that kind of experience emotionally. And for me, I had to fictionalize a couple of key parts. The character of Angela is a much more extreme version of me, and that was helpful for me to kind of have a little more fun with it. If I didn't make it exactly myself, and Yuri helped me with that too, because yeah, it helps get a little bit of distance. So those are my, I just spilled Chipotle on my computer. Okay. So those are my, those are my starting thoughts. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for coming in today. Oh, that's so cool, Karen. Keep me posted with what you do. That sounds so awesome. I would love to see it one day. Thank you all for coming. It's so good to be back with you, and I'll see you next week. This week, let's practice 5% more expressing love to the people that we love. Yay. Great. All right. I'll see you next week.